Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Midweek Madness. Tonight, I have a very special guest on our show, the one and only Shadowpunk.
Hey, what's happening?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm uh I'm doing good.
So, little Birdie told me you got a book that's coming up. So, why don't we just kind of jump right into it and have you tell us about it?
Yeah, so my book launches on June 18th.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna launch on Michael Bancroft's channel.
Oh, nice. That's pretty much a terminator for success. They got that in the bin.
Is it? I
Yes, from what I heard, basically anyone who launched on Michael Bancroft's channel goes pretty strong because he's got a pretty good following, and
Oh wow.
all my interactions with him, he's been a pretty cool guy, so I got nothing bad to say about him.
Well, I'll tell you, he's been quite a bit of help to me because I originally, when I first started going with the whole crowdfunding, I had no idea. I had talked to you actually too, and you helped me out
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit. And
Oh, yeah, of course.
so when I talked to him, him and Rob Arnold had like a manual almost,
Uh-huh.
right, to figure out here's the ins and outs of crowdfunding in the comic book. And so I talked to him for about 3 hours,
Oh, wow.
and he was so helpful. And I don't know why he took mercy on me to help me out, but everybody's, generally speaking, everyone in CG has been so cool.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of two things. One, you seem like a really nice person, and two, your product is just amazing. Is there anything you want to show off, like pictures of it or anything?
Yeah, I can show you. I can show you some stuff.
All right, yeah, just pull it on up and I'll share it on screen. All right, so here we go.
You can see my screen now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, gosh, where to begin, right?
Yeah.
Um,
From the
so
beginning, I guess.
yeah, I mean, my color scheme for the book is this red and blue,
Oh, it looks beautiful,
right?
honestly.
And which worked out pretty good. I didn't originally have that color scheme, and
It's very striking.
I think that it is right.
It just pops.
I had to fit, but what happened was when I was working on the cover. If I can find the cover,
Mm-hmm.
um, I originally colored it like a normal colors.
So you did all the colors for these?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
Mostly
I
impressive.
did everything. I'm one of those people that can't let go of anything.
You're the jack of all trades, master of all.
Yeah, well, that's a nice way of saying it, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to be generous, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a downside to doing the way I'm doing it because it's more of a challenge to get everything finished, right?
Yeah, but what's life without challenges, you know?
So I originally started and I colored the cover normal colors, right? Skin
Mm-hmm.
tones, the grays and blues and browns and everything. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that kind of works, right? I mean, it does work, but I wanted something that would stand out.
Right.
So this was my first cover I did, and you can see it's more real colors,
Yeah.
a little bit stylized. But then I said, you know what? So she's Shadowpunk, and I wanted it to have a punk rock '90s feel to it.
Of course.
And so I thought, what would be cool if it looked like a velvet poster,
Hmm.
right? A black, there's like an Elvis poster, right? And it's
Yeah.
felt. So I think, what does that look like if I color this cover like this? And so I said, let me try it because I knew that this was cool, but it wasn't enough. So I said, screw it, man. I'm going to see what red and blue. And I eventually, once I saw it, I knew my job was to say, yes, that is worth doing. That's kind of the job of the artist, is to spot things that you see that work.
Exactly.
And when they don't work, you have to kind of fight your way through it, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of how I came about using the red and the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I wasn't sure if the whole book was going to be that way. But now I'm convinced at this point. Enough people have said they like the color scheme.
Yeah, it kind of gives me a bit of a Tron vibe, kind of in a way.
Yeah, and by the way, I love Tron. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Uh, Tron Legacy is one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's a cool movie, man. I totally love it.
It's a 2-hour Daft Punk music video, and I for one love it.
So let me ask you something. I know we're talking about my book, but let me ask you something about the Tron movie because you're here and I'm talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at the end of the movie, they make a run for the portal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the portal is across the ocean somewhere, and they have to get to it, right?
The Sea of Simulation, yeah.
Right. So when in the beginning, when the kid comes down and he lands into the Tron world,
yeah,
he comes in, and he's in the arcade like their version of the arcade, right?
yeah.
So he comes in there, and you have to go in this way, and you have to go out the other way.
I think there's kind of a line in the movie where it's like they said he didn't want any wayward programs escaping. So if you kind of look at it through that kind of lens, it's like comes in one way, comes out another. It kind of makes sense, I
I
guess.
see. So I do know that line. I guess that makes sense. That was like a security measure on his part.
Yeah, especially also when like the portal auto closes after such and such amount of time. It does make sense.
Okay. So the other question I had was the fact that I had this theory. Okay, you know how the arcade is a replica of the arcade in the real world?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they does when he goes through when he gets scanned into the computer, does
Mm-hmm.
he go into like a storage drive somewhere and that's where the world exists? Or
I'm
does
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
or does that open up a portal into a digital world that's equally sized?
I think going by like both movies' logic, he gets digitized and goes into a computer world. I mean, they don't really kind of go into the specifics of it, but like, it's just kind of a world within a computer. Like,
Okay.
imagine if MP3 files were actual people, kind of thing.
Right, right. I mean, that's kind of the take I always took, based on the first movie too, right? Um,
Yeah,
like you said, but I always there was always that mirror imaging that was going on.
yeah, because those were a lot. Those were those characters. Uh, there were the programs made for the people. Like for example, Flynn had Clue. Uh, Bruce Boxer's character was Tron, and then the woman was UA. They all kind of had like they were the programs they used, and it was like the equivalents of it.
Okay, okay, yeah. I mean, that's I want to get a second take on it, because I've always loved the movie, and
Yeah, me too.
I think it's but it's better than the original, right? And the original is good, but the second one I think was better.
Yeah, just like it's just such a audio visual feast, and feels like, oh, it's just all visual spectacles. Like there's actually a really good story in there. It's like
There's
a
a really
good,
good story,
really good father and son story.
right?
Like I'm sorry, but like that ending where like he integrates with Clue and like you see the memories and it's like
Right.
it's like you see like take care, kiddo. It's just it kind of tugs at your heartstrings. I imagine once I become a father and I watch that scene again, it's going to hit a lot harder.
I think that is very powerful. The other thing I always enjoyed about it is there's a biblical theme running through the movie,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he made Clue in his own image, right? And I think
Yeah.
that the concept is um, that God is going to punish him for flying
Oh,
to the sun.
oh, no, 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 no. You're kind of missing. Like there's kind of a hidden detail that you're kind of missing. So they're ISOs,
Right?
ISOs. ISO is a disk image format on a computer. The ISOs were made in Flint's image. That's like the hidden detail where you got to be like a freaking computer nerd to understand it. And I just loved it. Like when the realization hit me, like ISO, that's a disk image format. Oh, they're in it. It's like it just kind of hits you upside the head.
Oh, I got you. I got you. But usually when that happens in a story, it's intentional.
I mean, they call them ISOs, and and the fact like even in if you look at the subtitles, they call them ISOs. So it's very clear that they very deliberately use that format because it's disc image format and it's a computer movie, so it's like
That's really cool. That is real cool insight.
yeah, it was something that and plus like Kevin Flynn, he kind of treats the ISOs like his children, like the way a god would treat his creations. Like the way he acts towards the ISOs is the way we kind of imagine God interacting with his children. And
well, so your theory doesn't about the ISOs doesn't actually interfere with my overall theory of the movie.
to me, Clue, if we're going in a biblical comparative sense, Clue himself would be the Antichrist. And Flynn is God / Jesus kind of in this. Because like Kevin Flynn, obviously they very much kind of wrap him kind of in like a godly, saintly figure. Like, he's all kind of got like this holy, the way he moves. Also, he's the like Kevin Flynn, the only one who can drop the bass. Like
I tell you, I don't think I would differ. I think it's not. I don't think it's that. Okay. I shouldn't say that. I think they make these movies to have different theories going on, so different people can see what they want. So I can see my theory, and another person can see their theory, right?
Yeah, that's the beauty of movies. We all kind of have our personal theories, and no one right, no one wrong.
So my theory is that Kevin did fly too close to the sun, and that he did do things that were he was playing God in his mind, right?
Yeah,
and God told him, "This you're going to pay for this," and so he orchestrated events so he was imprisoned inside the computer, and so the gift of the ISOs is God saying, you didn't do all bad, but you shouldn't be doing this stuff. So. And obviously the son of the maker is like a he's going to redeem his father, right? But I definitely think the hand of God is in the story.
I can definitely see that. Yeah,
because why would he be paying a penalty for something by being stuck? That's a theory at least. So anyway,
it makes sense. I can definitely see that. I mean, it's not the way I kind of interpret it, but I can definitely kind of see where you're coming from. I'm not saying it's wrong.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it's like I think that they do it that way on purpose, so that there is no one answer. Because if it was only my way, then the movie would feel like it's on a one track.
Yeah, it's like with Pulp Fiction, where it's like, it's like when they asked Quentin Tarantino, what's in the suitcase? And he answered, whatever you want to be. Whatever you want to be in the suitcase is in there.
Right. People don't want to hear that, right? They want to hear answers. But he's not going to give you one because that's not the whole reason he put the thing in the movie.
The whole point of the suitcase is it's a MacGuffin. It's an object of desire. What's in the suitcase doesn't really matter. Right. It's the fact that the characters are desiring it, they're wanting it. It's a focal point, a fulcrum of the plot. It doesn't matter what's in the suitcase. What matters is the suitcase's effect on the characters.
Right. Yeah.
And it always kind of like, and the thing is, people, when something is unknown, it intrigues people, or it kind of scares them. When you kind of turn the lights, it's like when you're in a haunted house, and it's all scary when it's dark out, but they turn on the lights, suddenly it's not scary anymore.
Right.
And you can be like, oh, okay, that ghost that scared me 5 minutes ago, it's just a puppet on a string,
It is. It's a sign of a good filmmaker to layer it that way. Things in general, to have unknowns like that. It's
why Alien works so well. The first Alien movie, because like you hardly see the monster.
Right.
It's why Jaws works so well, which I'm sure you've heard the story where like they actually were planning on using robotic sharks. I mean, they did in the movie, but they didn't work that well. So Steven Spielberg made a decision to not show the shark that much, and that's what made the movie one of the greatest blockbusters of all time. Is that one decision born out of malfunction, and I just kind of find that beautiful.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was his skill as a director to spot the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you really have to have a sophisticated mind to understand what people are going to see when they watch your movie, right? because you have to take yourself outside of yourself and go, what are they going to think when they look at it?
Yeah, it requires kind of a certain mindset, a lot of empathy. You got to put yourself in other people's shoes. Got to put yourself in a different mindset.
Right.
You got to look at it with a different lens. Be like, okay, if I was this person, how would I interpret the movie? And it's a skill that I feel like a lot of people really struggle with.
Well, it's a and it's a higher functioning skill, right? It's
Yeah.
not something that you can just it's like learning to write like a comic book or do artwork or whatever, right? It's one of those
Mm-hmm.
things where you know, it, you're not going to get it right away. And you have to know that people is capable of doing it and then shoot for that later on.
Yeah.
As you get better as a filmmaker, like there are people like that. Like, the guy who did the Logan movie,
Oh,
uh,
that's a good movie.
James Margold or something like
James,
that.
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
So, his earlier movies were not as good, but then he has these moments that are really cool. And, like he did Copland, and that had a certain level of that kind of layering and interest
Mm-hmm.
to it. Um, you know, uh, but I think, to my point, he slowly got better and better, right?
Yeah.
So, and you're also, a lot of those movies, you're dealt, okay, Sabretooth has to be in this movie, and Cyclops and the White Queen, right? I mean, at some
Mm-hmm.
point, like, what are you gonna do, right? You're gonna make a movie where they fight Deadpool on the top of some nuclear reactor and it looks ridiculous,
Hey,
right?
Genuine, how you doing? Sorry, we got a comment kind of come in. I just wanted to say hi. I kind of acknowledge him. How you doing, Genuine? Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, anyway,
I'm sorry.
no,
You're
yeah, but it is one of those things where people grow into their skills, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
and it's
it's
hard.
kind of
You can't.
it's like writing is something that is both learned, but is also kind of an innate skill. Like some people, like pretty much anyone can learn to write well if they put the focus in. But some people, kind of do have like the innate kind of talent to do it really well. That doesn't mean they can't learn to be better. But like writing is kind of one of those things where it's like it can definitely be taught if you have the patience and the desire to get better.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm not really sure. There's that whole nature nurture thing. I'm not sure, because a lot of people will say you can't teach people to be an artist, for example. But
I
you can.
think that's lying, but
Well, it's not the. I think the underlying idea is the fact that I can teach you to do those skills, but you're going to have to put them together to make something, right?
yeah.
And that's going to come from your imagination, no matter how good of. For example, I can teach you how to do oils, and you can do oils for 30 years, but will you become a Rembrandt?
Yeah, like I'm kind of like split down the middle when it comes to nature versus nurture chat. Um,
Yeah,
because like I kind of like I definitely believe that there are some people who kind of like hey Spore Hacker, how you doing? Nice to see you here. Like I definitely believe there are some people who have innate skills who kind of like skill or whatnot, but at the same time some skills can be taught. So it's I'm not really sure which I'm kind of on the fence about it, I guess.
well, I'll give you a good example. If you, okay, so I'm an artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I have children now, they will inherit some of my visual capabilities.
More than likely, yeah.
And if I had children when I was 15, they would not. They would have less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
like I definitely believe in the nature argument a little bit because, like for example, I'm the youngest of three, and all three of us have musical aptitude to some degree. Like,
oh
my oldest sister is a trained soprano. My the middle sister played oboe and was an alto, and then me, I can play guitar and I'm kind of like a bassy baritone myself. So it's like all three of us have some sort of musical talent. And then for myself, I it's writing comes really easily to me. Like I mean, obviously, I put in the work to get better at my craft, but it is kind of like something where it's like I had kind of a leg up, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But you can give somebody all the talent in the world if they don't do any want to, if they don't want to work for anything and create anything, then it's worthless, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
because
mean,
that's kind of the problem that a lot of like prodigies run into, where it's like they think they can just coast on their talent alone, and they never like kind of culture their gift. They never like kind of take care of it, and it ends up kind of blowing up in their face. You see that all the time.
totally. That's a good point. I
Yeah, and
mean,
genuine kind of like raised an interesting question that I was kind of afraid to bring up, but he kind of did it. So, the genetics aspect of talent. What do you think about that?
I think there is. Yeah, I think there's a genetic aspect to it for sure. I
Mm.
think, for example, okay, so I can create really cool stuff, but I my skill level will be on a scale of 1 to 100. I'll get in my whole life if I struggle super hard, I'll get to like 92%,
So
right?
it's like when you're doing like an RPG and you pick your perks. Let's say you're playing Fallout, and you put a perk into your repair skill instead of your repair skill starting out at 5, it starts out at like 10 or 20. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
like through a
totally.
normal playthrough, you can maybe get your repair skill up to 80, but like if you get the perks, then you can get it up to 100.
I think that there's a lot of truth to that. And I mean, obviously, the takeaway from the whole thing is to go for it.
Oh
Whatever
yeah,
So if you want to become a writer, you know, you can be. You might not become Victor Hugo, but you will make cool stuff.
yeah. That's kind of been my ethos as well. Like my catchphrase is "write with passion, write well," because passion's always kind of been a big driving force for me. It's like if I don't do something that doesn't if what I do doesn't excite me, it's not worth doing. Because I have to be like really into a project, really excited, and then I write really good stuff. It helps motivation, because like if I'm not motivated to do something and I do it because like I have to, the product's gonna suffer as a result. So it's like I got to be like really excited about a project.
It, I and you and the people that you're competing with are, if they're going to have that enthusiasm.
Exactly.
So your theory is correct. You have to go for it, and you have to have it. You have to give it 100%. I mean, as a matter of fact, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I made the movie, I didn't give 100%. I gave about 900% because I didn't know how.
You had me in the first half.
Yeah, I didn't know any of it when I started. So 100% means I did the best I could, but then I actually spent time doing it over and over and over until I got to a certain point.
Well, practice does make perfect.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with doing a comic book, right? I mean, um, it's hard to draw and do all that stuff when you start out. When I first started doing the movie, I was talking to a friend of mine. He says, "Well, why don't you do a comic book with it?"
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, I haven't drawn in a long time. I went to art school and everything, and it's like I just haven't drawn." He's like, "You'll remember how to do it. It'll take a while, and then you'll get there." And I'm
Yeah.
like, and and then he's like, "Well, you could do 3D sculpts and stuff, of your character,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I probably could do that. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I took a genuine comic kind of raised an interesting point here. It's kind of expanding what we're talking about.
I'm not watching the chat. What does it
Oh,
say?
I'll read it to you. He said, "If you learn to draw or write well, it means you're already genetically dispositioned. You can't expand on something that isn't there." And I think there's some truth to those
That's a
words.
good point.
Yeah, like, um, like I tried doing writing. I do writing. I've taken like art classes. Like I tried to do penciling. I just can't do it. I tried, um tried doing it. I did some 3D modeling. Like I was actually okay at that. Like at 3D modeling animation. Like honestly, in another life, I probably could have been a low poly 3D modeler or animator. But like that's just not how my life ended up. And then obviously I like music, and like I could make a go at music. It's just I've chosen to kind of focus on writing.
Yeah, I mean, you were hypothetically you were born with a certain level of visual aptitude, but you know to get to elevate yourself, you'd have to give a lot more.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
like I can play guitar and I can bang out synth beats like you put me in front of a synthesizer and I can create kind of like a cool little synth kind of line. So there is a bit of aptitude there, um, but it is something I'd have to put in the time to get better at. Like eventually I want to get more singing lessons. I want to get more guitar lessons, but like that's just something that's kind of um, beyond me right now. It's more focusing on my writing, which is a more mature skill for me at the moment. So I'm just focusing on that.
I see, I see. Um, yeah. So when I was trying to, I'm totally new to the crowdfunding thing, as you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out how to do it and how to, how does the scene work, right? Who are there gatekeepers involved in this scene?
Yeah, I mean, get a big enough group, you're bound to have gatekeepers. I mean, I do think Comicsgate, well, it does have some issues. It's a lot better than a lot of other groups. I will say that. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, no group is perfect. No group is perfect, but Comicsgate is, in my opinion, it's a lot better than pretty much any other group. I feel a lot more comfortable in that space.
yeah, pretty open, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so I had to figure out like, uh, not only making the book, right, which is a challenge unto itself, but how do you promote it? How do you talk to people and get out
Mm-hmm.
there? And to your point, Comicsgate's been pretty good about allowing people to, nobody knew who I was, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
so I'm like, so one of the things I also did is, so I did the 3D sculpts, which I love doing, but I also did, to learn how to color comic books. I actually took artwork from pros and
Yeah, learn from the best.
learn from the best. See if I can find them, um, and it really, really helped me quite a bit, because I colored a lot of Ethan's stuff, and
Uh-huh.
because Kyle's a pretty good colorist, man, and
Oh,
I
I
was,
love his colors.
I,
I really want to get him onto one of my books, but he's hard to get a hold of.
yeah, I mean, I spotted it right away that he had a really great color sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through and I colored a bunch of these. Oh, here we go. So this is a Rob Willis one I colored, and learning how to do like rim lighting, what colors to choose, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it's not easy to do. Um, and so if I can find the Cyberfrog ones I did for
Yeah,
you,
genuine comics. He definitely is an amazing colorist. I agree.
yeah, I mean, and what I did was I tried not to copy. I didn't find his image and look at it when I was coloring. I
Mm-hmm.
would color mine, then go back and go up.
Right.
That's kind of what was my theory, and so that way I could really, um, it's around here somewhere. I could really kind of force myself to become open to making it better.
Yeah, because like unless you're open to change, you're not going to learn.
It was here. Oh, here's one I did. Yeah, here we go. So here's another Cyberfrog
That's
one.
another one that you did, or is that Ritter's work?
No, these are mine.
Oh wow, that's really good. Like seriously, that is pro level right there. You are a quick study, my friend.
Yeah, so I bought Ethan's coloring book. He has a coloring book for kids, and then I did look at how he went about coloring like metal, right? So but not I didn't look at the exact image, right? I said I'm gonna do mine and see how it compares at the end. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned a hell of a lot. So by the time I got to coloring my book and figuring out the style, I was kind of like feeling stronger about it,
Yeah.
like I know I can kind of, I'm not lost anymore. I can do it,
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
but anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else did you have to learn, and like what other kind of things and whatnot?
Oh man. Well, writing was a challenge, and I rewrote the story multiple times,
Right.
and when I say rewrote it, I mean like I thought I was done with this, and now I'm actually going to go back and do it again, forcing
Yeah.
myself to do that because I knew that it would only get better if I did that,
Mm-hmm.
But it's you want to move on quick, right? You want to get everything done as soon as possible,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
that's not going to happen. And one of the other things I had to sort of figure out was the process of how I got things done.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, traditional comic book artists would uh, you would you once you're done with the pencils, you would hand it off to somebody and you're done,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing it in that way. I'm drawing everything out and I'm doing everything, but then while I'm coloring it, I'm going back and adding things just to make sure that things are working.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So I have
Yeah.
the luxury of going, hey, like for example, I want a foreground on this thing here. I want to, so it points down to her in the next frame. So
Yeah.
I
It's one
want
of
to
the benefits of doing your own stuff.
exactly. Quite honestly, I think like if I've been drawing comics for 30 years, I think I would have figured I would figure that stuff out. I would not have a problem. But
Probably.
yeah, I mean, you see Ethan draw some of his stuff, and he's actually just sketching and then he's inking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's got to figure it out quite a bit ahead of time.
Yeah.
So in time, I imagine I will be really good at doing that. But right now, it's taking me time. So
Of
um,
course.
and so on my um, on my campaign when I launch, I'm going to have my figure that I'm going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
This is my figure of my
Oh,
character.
you did that sculpt yourself?
Yeah, I did all the sculpts. Yeah.
Nice.
Um, so she's gonna be
Remind me to get in contact with you so maybe you can sculpt some of my characters for this kind of stuff.
okay. Yeah, it's each sculpt probably takes about 70 hours to do,
Wow.
so it takes a long time, and they're not.
Yeah.
You can just imagine they're not exactly cheap, right?
No.
Even at minimum wage, if I make minimum wage, they're still expensive to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they just take time, and I'll show you the figure. I've been printing them on my printer. Um,
You said it takes 70 hours?
roughly. I mean, sometimes it's Oh, here we go.
So let's say someone's paying you $10 an hour. That equates to $700 just for the sculpt.
Yeah. I mean, if you just as a broad way of looking at it, you can just imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously your skill's worth the money, but still, yeah.
Well, there's also problems involved with with doing a sculpt because now you have to find somehow somebody to print it for you.
Yeah,
Right?
it's just half the battle.
It's just half the battle. So one of the things I discovered.
G.I. Joe. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
What's that?
We said half the battle, and knowing is half the battle.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I just couldn't help
so
myself.
the printing process is ripe with pitfalls.
Mm.
And I like this, and on the render on the right here, you can see the base. So I changed it to the one on the left because I want it to be all one piece, right?
Right.
And it's more dynamic. But just printing this thing took like a month.
Jeez.
Because 3D printers don't like things that are flat, large surfaces.
Really?
Because what happens is every layer that you print, it prints like one sliver at a time, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It builds it up. So every time it prints a layer, it's stuck to it and it has to pull up.
Okay.
And then it goes back down to print the next layer. So if you have a giant shape that it's stuck to, it pulls it.
Hmm.
Right. So anyway,
So that's kind of like a problem inherent in the process.
Exactly. And so, uh, I used to get my prints printed at a place called Shapeways in Long Island. And it was like printing something like this at 4 inches would have cost me $150
Okay.
for one print.
Wow.
Right. So that's why I got my 3D printer.
Yeah, and I'm trying to make things at a scale to where I could maybe sell them or stuff, and wow.
That's the big problem with the whole thing, is that I can go through do the whole process, but it's very rare that you can do that. And
like you save a crap ton of money just by being the one who designs it. That saves you a bunch of money. But like the printing process is kind of where it gets hard.
yeah, and then on this is my finished product, is the one on the left, where I'm gonna paint everything silver, like a silver gray.
Mm-hmm.
And then the eyes are red, and then the lights are gonna be red, like that.
Yeah.
And so I can take it from the beginning all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's a bizarre set of skills you have to do that, because who does that? Right?
You apparently.
Well, I mean, who in the right mind? I spent. If you can see in the background here, you can see I have a Hulk back there, and I have a Juggernaut that I made for HeroClix.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been making my own HeroClix for years.
Yeah.
In this process, and that's why I know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's a kooky thing, man. It really is. And
yeah.
So the other turntable, the other sculpts I did for people, like the Tiger Blue and Gem Shock,
Mm-hmm.
and here's the Godlike.
Oh wow, that's really nice. I love the detail on it.
Yeah, he was actually crazy to do those. He has like armor like Colossus almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And very difficult to do because you don't model that. You have to find a way to get this uniform, crisp effect on things. So that it's not something where you go, I'm gonna sculpt it, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be crisp and perfectly. So
80s main had like a really good comment for you. He said Shadowpunk coming after McFarlane next, and honestly, with your detail, I could totally see that. By the way, hey 80s maid, sorry I didn't say hi to you before. It's just Shadowpunk was kind of talking about his thing. I didn't want to interrupt him. He was kind of in the middle of it. So
I was on his show, and it was really cool because he was really interesting to talk to, right?
Yeah, 80s is a cool guy. I've had a bunch of interactions with him. He's a really cool dude.
And he made me think about that a little bit, about the McFarlane thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between my sculpts and the McFarlane sculpts is
they're better.
Well, they're better, but not by a lot. And the quality difference is that you would have skin textures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would have micro textures on top of the existing shapes.
Right.
Leather would have a texture, all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So my sculpts are not big enough. That's kind of wasted detail because, right? If it's only 4 inches or something, you're not really going to see the eyelashes.
Yeah, unless you're like looking at it through like a really big lens or whatever.
Well, the print won't print it that well.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's a mute point.
Right. So, and the McFarlane thing is they print them like 8 inches tall. Right. So mm-hmm. I would like to get a really large. My 3D printer now prints at maximum like 6 inches maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to now that I've realized, I can make this work. I've kind of convinced myself now I can make it work. So I would like to invest in one that's a bigger printer and a faster, better, even higher quality. But they're kind of expensive, so I have to wait on that. But
yeah, I mean, with your kind of skills, it kind of seems like a worthwhile investment.
I think it would be, right. I mean, but it's yeah, totally. It's just expensive, and that's it. So hopefully I'll be able to do it at some point in the future.
I mean, honestly, with as much money that you're probably going to make from your upcoming Indiegogo, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up being able to afford a really huge one.
Well, I mean, that would be super nice, right? And I think that people would appreciate it too.
Do you have a sign up page that people can go to?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, could you show that to people so we can promote it, and then drop the link in the private chat so I can post it for people?
All right. Let me see here. Let me.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of remove you for a second, so while you're kind of pulling up and whatnot. So when are you set to launch?
I'm launching on June 18th.
Okay.
What the? Hold on. I'm trying to get to the thing.
And then how long are you supposed to go for?
I haven't figured that out yet. I mean, I think people have different ways of doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that it will be a month and then a month in demand, I think is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I did the month, and I'm kind of doing in demand. Probably gonna wait till after I got printed, because I got like some high tiers to where once I print, people can't get them anymore. So it's like after I go to print, I might kind of shut it off. I haven't really decided yet, but that's just me.
So is it normal to do like a month and then a month in demand?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, and it seems like what a lot of other people are doing. So
is the logic then that what's the logic into going in demand?
Well, to be in demand, you have to like make your kind of thing first. The only reason to go the 60 days is, well, two reasons. One, you don't make your initial thing, and you want the extra days to make it, or you made it and you want the extra time to kind of bump up your numbers and kind of hit some stretch goals. That's basically how I understand it. Now,
okay,
other people may know better than me, so don't take what I say for gospel. That's just how I understand things.
Or have a different approach.
That too. So this is your campaign right here. All right.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can.
You have it?
Yeah, I have it here. Could you link it into the private chat?
All right, hold on.
Yeah, I'm gonna remove you here for a moment.
All right, let me copy it.
Yeah, pretty much what 80 said. In demand until you're close to printing.
Oh well, so I don't expect to print until late in the year.
Well, then you have plenty of time to get in demand then to get some more stuff. Then you should be good.
So people do that? They keep their thing going for that long?
I don't see why not. I mean, I haven't heard of it, but I haven't really kind of been in this game for too long.
Huh. Okay, yeah. We'll get it always here.
Because
I got you. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I'll be honest with you. The crowdfunding thing is there's between making the book, writing, creating, marketing the book, and getting out there, and then doing the actual campaign. There's so many things you've got to keep track of.
Yeah. Marketing is honestly not my strong suit. Like making a comic, I'm good at. You put me in a convention, I can sell really well and get my book out there to people. Like, conventions are easy for me. I love those things. But when it comes to marketing, I am not the best. I will be the first to admit it.
Well, so by the way, he said Ethan's still in demand for Wreck Planet.
I'm assuming that's what he mean. I mean, how many other Ethans do we have in our circle?
No, yeah. He means that's been a long time then.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ethan, so I mean, whatever. He does what he does.
So it's a good point, right? Yeah. A lot of my time right now is like half and half on the book and then making my 3D sculpts. You've probably seen on my channel, I've been doing a promotional thing, like a giveaway of the 3D figures.
Yeah. Hey, 80s. He said, come to my show on Saturday. don't threaten me with a good time. Like
Right.
if that's an offer, I might take you up on it. Message me later. But but yeah. Then
That's
80s things like he's got several in demand.
that's actually good to know, that kind of information, because I can tell he's watching some of these channels, right? Some or his campaigns.
Yeah, 80s definitely knows what he's talking about. He's definitely someone I would listen to.
Well, when I first started, I was going to launch in February, and I remember you said maybe you might want to wait, and then Bancroft said you might want to wait, and then Eldest on the farm said you might want to wait, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to wait.
Yeah,
And
because like my personal philosophy when it comes to launching in February is I don't want to launch in the winter because definitely not January because people don't have money because it's after Christmas, and then in February it's still winter. The reason I like to do spring, which would be like April or May, is because the weather's starting to get better, people are more happy, and also tax returns because like by
right.
April and May, people have their tax returns. They kind of have more stuff. I mean honestly, rules are made to be broken, so if you feel strongly about launching in even January, go ahead, make $1 million, prove us all of us wrong. Rules, these things are kind of just best practices until there's a new best practice. So if you want to change the meta, go right ahead, brother. I'm all for it.
Well, I knew that I knew what I didn't know, right?
Yeah.
So that was enough to convince me not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the logic also was sound, that hey, nobody knows your book. So and just because let's say you make something of high quality, that doesn't mean people are going to even know that it exists or even want to buy it.
Yeah, because people look at me like, oh, hey, that's cool. Maybe give it a like. So like they know their sculpts, but they don't know you, the person who makes them.
Right. And I think that made a lot of sense to me. So I didn't want to. I kind of didn't want to wait, but I knew I should. And so
Yeah, patience is a virtue.
yeah, and by the way, I was able to. I mean, all the things I've done from then till now, I'm literally going like around the clock, and I know
Yeah, I know how I feel.
there's not enough hours in the day to get everything done, and
Yeah, it's like I remember Arnold's rules for life. He always says like sleep 6 hours a day. He's always like sleep faster.
right. The
Yeah.
other one that I thought was interesting was George Lucas. I heard him talking about creating like a franchise like he did, or creating anything, I think is what he meant. And it was, he goes, you don't really, if you really go for something, you're going to end up almost losing everything, because you're going to push it so far to get your cool product out and get it in front of people and make it work, that you're gonna push it to the very limit to make it the best.
Oh yeah.
And so that's gonna force you into a position where you could lose everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for a lot of people that's true.
And that's a scary prospect for some people. It's like people are naturally risk averse. I mean, that's not, and it's not even a knock against them. And
That makes sense, really.
the greatest of risk comes with the greatest of reward.
Well, I most of my life I was not a risk taker in that way at all. I had a regular job, and I was making a lot of money, and I was like, when that burned out, I said I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not. I can make $100,000 a year every year,
Mm-hmm.
but this is not good.
You wanted something better for yourself. Like you knew you could do better. You felt it in your heart. Like, yeah, I'm doing good in life. I'm already doing better than most people do in their lives, but I feel like I'm made for something more. It's kind of like a fire in your belly.
It is, and I also noticed a pattern in my life where, and I bet you a lot of people are this way, where artistically, if I did things on my own and created my own thing and forced myself to elevate myself, it always worked. Always.
Yeah.
And when I got into a position like when I got out of college, I worked at an illustration studio in Detroit down here, and I was floundering. I had some of the guys had 80 different styles. and you can't do one of their styles, right?
Yeah.
So what these guys are all top notch illustrators. What the hell are you going to illustrate? You can't. And so I that didn't work for me. And so I always knew that going on my own was a way for me to become better as an artist, and it always works.
Yeah, if you want something done, do it yourself.
Yeah, but it's I don't think that everybody wants that type of approach in life because it's risky. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of shows out where people like they want to succeed, but they don't want to take the risk. Like they'd rather, like, oh, I'm gonna work for a company and climb my way up to the top of the corporate ladder. To where even if that company fails, oh, I have enough experience, I can just jump to another ship.
Right. Well, that is a good point. That's funny. People never realize that about working in a big company. You go, yeah, they're going to lose everything, by the way, and you can just jump ship and get a job at the other whatever. Right.
Versus like you start something yourself, you build it, it crashes and burns. Not only does the company crash and burn, but you do as well.
Right. You've lost, and so people don't want to hear that because they want to think that the people that run the company, that are in control somehow, are above that problem, and it's like, no, you don't get it. They gave everything to make this work, right? You don't really, the fact that you think you deserve something is ridiculous, right? I mean, at some level, you're like, this person over here gave everything to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, people don't want to hear it. They want to think that it's all rigged. And I imagine some of it is in certain levels.
I mean, to a certain extent, corporate. I mean, I do feel like we do live in kind of like a corporate owned. Like they do kind of rig it, but I feel like the American dream never died. It's just people stopped pursuing it.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
Like, is the game rigged in a lot of places? Like, is there kind of like a corporate whatever? Yes. Can people still rise up by their bootstraps and make them themselves? Also, yes. Like that, I mean, one just because one exists doesn't mean the other can't exist as well in tandem.
I think that at the very top the game is totally rigged, but I think between my first job at a car wash and running a studio that creates whatever that makes millions of dollars a year, I think that's not rigged. I think that our jobs at our level are not rigged.
Yeah, like it's not like totally widespread. It's really certain aspects, like not everything is like totally corrupt, rigged, or whatever. Like certain things are for sure, but not everything. And I think that's kind of there's gaps that people can flourish in, and nowadays the game has defined your niche.
Yeah, I mean, 80s makes a good point. I mean, you do have to prove yourself at every level.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't know what his total conclusion is, but I mean, I think that in any job I've had, there is like the one job I had for years, I was in post production, and I was kind of locked out. I made good money, and I had a lot of creative freedom, but I knew that there was a circle of people that were never going to let me in. Right. And they were nice people, but they wanted their control over everything. And I think, 80s is kind of right in that way too, because it is kind of rigged, but then again, those companies fell apart. That company doesn't exist.
Yeah. Anymore. That's kind of the part that like all those people complaining, they don't really kind of talk about, where karma comes for us all. I mean, for example, look at the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation. Like she was so sure that she had Hollywood by the finger. She was so sure she'd get away with it. But look at it. Like he's already lost in the court of public opinion. I feel like Johnny's going to win the trial, and even if he doesn't, Johnny's already won. He's already won what he needs to. He's already proven his innocence in the court of public opinion, which is really what matters. Winning is kind of a side benefit,
Well, my take is that he's not going to win. I think you're right. He's already won the public opinion. His image is controlled, and he's back up in that way. But he
Yeah.
has to prove that she destroyed part of his career by her slander, right? Legally.
Yeah.
And I
And
think that's
well, slander is really hard to prove, just on a base level. But
yeah.
also the court system kind of favors women victims. So Johnny's kind of on a really uphill battle. Like he's got like a double uphill battle. Like it's like trying to climb a muddy hill. That's kind of
Well, here's the other thing. Okay, I can tell that she's lying in this trial, right? But on the other side, he's pretty messed up. He's pretty dysfunctional. He may be functional as an actor, but
he's
he's
functional as an alcoholic. That's for sure.
so he fell for the oldest trick in the book, as they say, because as
he
men,
fell for a short skirt and red lipstick. That's what he fell for.
who's 20 years younger than he is. Right. And so even if he wasn't dysfunctional, even if he was a sober man, the odds that with that woman coming at you, you're going to fall for it. Right. Because you're a man and you're a sucker.
Yeah. He was definitely attractive. And plus like he very much kind of manipulated him for initially, kind of look into the whole thing.
I mean, I'm just saying he should have known better, right? Especially a guy like that.
You know the phrase. Guys have two heads, but only enough blood to run one at a time.
That's totally that. I think that's what's going on. It's like, you know what, dude? I can't feel sorry for you because you did this to yourself, right? And the fact that he was always on some kind of intoxicant somehow is not good. I mean,
usually in my experience, people who turn to drugs and alcohol, they're trying to hide from something emotionally. They're trying to like hide from pain or just whatever. So it's that's my personal experience. Sure, there are some drugs that are used for fun, like even alcohol can be used for fun, but like the people who heavily engage in alcohol and narcotics to the degree that Depp does, usually they're trying to like fill a void, hide from guilt. It's usually self-medication in a way.
Yeah. I think that's dead on. I think you nailed it. I think when I watched the trial, I just think, man, you are dysfunctional, dude. I mean, your wealth insulates you from the ramifications of how dysfunctional you are.
Yeah.
But I can also tell, man, she's hooked up with the ACLU. Okay. I think what she's doing is she is taking the thing about
she's weaponizing victimhood status. She's weaponizing everything, like all the emotion. She weaponized the Me Too movement against Johnny. It's like it's like I agree with you the stuff about Johnny being kind of a train wreck, but I'll pick Johnny Depp over Amber Heard any day because like the stuff that Johnny's doing is bad, but it's understandable. Amber Heard is just straight playing out evil.
But don't you think that that thing about him having with the bottle with her, all right? Using
where she severed his finger.
Yeah, he somehow used a bottle and had sex with her or something. I'm like, that is like straight out of a movie. I mean, that is so like I want to paint a picture in people's minds.
Yeah, I don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth.
That's so crazy. I'm like, that's bullshit. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. If Johnny really was an abuser, why is every one of his exes coming in his defense and saying he wasn't that bad of a person?
Exactly.
Like Kate Moss, testified in his defense.
Right.
Like Kate Moss didn't have to do that. Like she's putting herself kind of on a pole for Johnny, and that's an ex. Because the thing is, abusers have a history of abuse. Johnny doesn't have a history of abuse, but you know who does? Amber.
Right.
Because like there's that airport incident where she assaulted her girlfriend. So it's like Amber Heard has a history of abuse. Johnny Depp doesn't. So it's like if you kind of look at it with a little bit of a logical lens, it becomes very clear.
Well, the other part too is that I think that if she's hooked up with the ACLU, I think that she has been in communication with high level left wing people that are going to use her as a woman's cause, type of thing. And they would talk to her about how you do this, right? How do you paint a picture to make him look like he's a victimizer or a woman beater or whatever you want to call it, because it's too controlled. It seems like it reeks of lies.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know how many times I go onto Twitter and like I read, like tweets from women who are actual domestic abuse survivors, and they talk about how like Amber Heard kind of gives off all the signs of an abuser. Like, I'm sorry, but like I'm gonna believe those women, like I'm sorry. And plus, a lot of these women I've interacted with on Twitter before, and they have no reason to lie like this. And I'm sorry, but like I'm gonna believe the actual survivors of abuse.
Well, here's the other thing too that I never want to forget. So women are just as equally as violent as men. It's the same. It's just
in a different way, but yeah,
different way. So, and one of the ways this, okay, that is a telltale sign or is evidence, is the fact that all these serial killers were all raised by psycho women. Okay, they're all
Oedipus complex.
Well, yeah.
I love what 80 said. 80s. Yep. 80s is right. Yeah, definitely.
It's good. it's a good barometer, right?
If she doesn't like Star Wars and doesn't read comics, get the hell away from her, because she's probably cray.
I mean,
I'm joking.
No, there's truth to that. I mean, you have to be grounded, and quite honestly, at some level, even if a woman's grounded, you got to go, because women think on multiple levels. They always, their whole life, they think on multiple. Men are like simple. What do you want me to do? I'll do it. Let's go do this. I hate that. Right.
From what I've kind of like, when it comes to like kind of like the intelligence stuff, like women tend to like kind of cluster more into like the average woman is more intelligent, but like when it comes to like the stratus of like stupidity and intelligence, men tend to like cluster as like the highest and the lowest. So it's like it's like men are both the stupidest and the most intelligent, whereas women tend to have like a general kind of like hot, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, totally. I know that theory. I think it's a good one. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but it kind of reflects kind of what I think.
I don't know if it's true. I'm just quoting stuff I heard. I may be way off my rocker.
No, I think there might be truth to it, because
I'm just saying that if in case someone tries to clip it and claim against me, so I'm just kind of putting that out there for future court cases.
Well, I think in my mind, the people like to come back to men and say they're violent, like they're trying to paint Johnny Depp or something, and I'm like, like I said, that's not true, and it's unfair to make men. They created this whole battered wife.
I don't like sweeping statements about anything, like not all women are skanks, not all men are abusers, not all black people are thugs, not all gay people are pedos. I don't like to make sweeping statements about anyone. People are capable. Any person is capable of doing evil things. Anybody is really capable of doing bad stuff. I don't like to make sweeping statements about anything.
Yeah, totally. And I want to go back to something 80 said earlier, which is totally different than what he's talking about now. But about crowdfunding, he made a really good point, and I don't want to forget it. Was the fact that 10 years ago you couldn't do what we're doing now.
Yeah, we do kind of live in a bit of a golden age of indie comics.
It really it gives people, people like Ethan, and I know there's a couple other people before him that were like that started the whole crowdfunding thing on Indiegogo especially, and it really makes a difference. I mean, it really, without those examples,
it's a game changer for sure.
It's a game changer, and it's great to have people that, especially like Ethan, who's so successful with his books. It's a great example, and
Ethan is definitely a gold standard in how to market your book. Though he kind of came in with a bit of a leg up, with his former work at DC. Plus, like he kind of had the whole like, oh, DC fired me because I wasn't woke enough, and
true.
But I mean, honestly, if it was just that, he would have fizzled out a long time ago. To have this kind of lasting success, he's got to be doing something right.
Well, so when I started trying to get my book going, Rob Arnold and Michael Bancroft, they're like, well, here's all the cool things you got to do, but you also got to start a YouTube channel to get your exposure, right? And it does make sense, right?
What do you think I'm doing right now?
Well, my point is that I could not do that right now. That's too much for me to accomplish and do everything else, right? And so I'm like, that one's going to have to take some time for me because someday I'll have enough time to focus on it. But I'm trying to figure out how to, start my layout, my page and my perks and all that stuff. And I'm doing the book and I'm doing the sculpts. I'm doing crazy, right? There's not enough time in the day,
Oh my God, 80s, like, we can bring back bum fights. All right, so we'll have a slap fight, and whoever wins gets funded. I'm okay with that.
There you go. Anyway, yeah. So I launch on June 18th, and I'm hoping to build up enough energy, pizzazz, attract as many people as I can to my book before I get to launch day.
You're definitely doing good so far. I'd say definitely better than what I've been doing. So hats off to you so far.
Well, like you mentioned before, Ethan had the benefit of working for DC before he started. So I have the benefit of other skills. So I've tried to leverage those and to draw people to my page and my book, by doing the sculpts. So I'm doing the contest where I'm giving away my painted 3D sculpts every week to people.
Are you saying your 3D sculpts bring all the boys to the yard?
I don't know what that means.
It's a reference to a song. Sorry.
Oh, is it?
I would sing it, but people would cringe and I'd lose the one viewer I have.
Yeah,
so I'd rather not.
You would, yeah, totally. But yeah, so that's the best you can do is leverage all your talents. You're right into whatever those talents are, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm getting ready and I'm getting excited. It's probably it's 20 days away.
No. Do you have a trailer yet?
Yeah, I got a trailer.
All right, let's show it. Kind of wrap things up a little bit.
All right, let me see. Am I still sharing?
You were. It's just you kind of were just sharing the regular screen, so I removed it, so I can put it back up.
Okay.
Yeah, just pull up the trailer and then I'll do it. Are you sharing with sound?
Yeah, I have to turn the audio on the thing, but yeah.
All right, and then if there's no sound, just kind of stop sharing and then kind of put it back up. There'll be like a checkbox you have to do.
Okay.
So let's just kind of see what happens first, and we'll go from there. All right. Yeah, I can't hear anything. You're gonna have to redo this. Let me just stop sharing your screen, like just kind of quit out the window and then reopen it. And when you do, they'll kind of be at the bottom. They'll say share with sound. You do that. Otherwise, if need be, I can just share my screen and do it that way.
No, yeah, we'll try it. Share system audio. Okay. Let's see if this works.
Yep, we're good.
There you go.
Nice. So, as we kind of wind things down, is there anything you want people to know?
I don't know. I didn't come up with a pitch like that. I guess I'm just excited to do the book, and
Yeah, it looks like a good book for sure.
yeah, I love it. I love doing the artwork, man. I can't wait to finish the whole thing. And yeah, so back the book, and you'll get something great.
Yep, and then the link is kind of in the chat. I'll make sure it's in the description of this video. And thank you everyone for tuning out. We kind of went over a little bit, but honestly, whenever there's a good chat, I don't really have it in my heart to stop it. So thank you for stopping by. Tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel. This has been Nick from the Phoenix Press, and remember, I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.